The President of the United States has been working for peace. I work pretty closely with him, and I have written a peace plan in the light of the things that we have worked together and thought together on.
What reaction have you had to that plan as yet?
It was a very fine plan so far as the President of the United States was concerned.
What makes you think that your plan should succeed when so many others have failed?
I don't say it's going to succeed. It shows that the United States is interested in peace.
Last night's decision not to endorse either Nixon or McGovern was almost lost in the confusion of a floor session which lasted into the morning hours. The decision came as the convention voted to accept en masse about 30 priorities as the basis of its national platform. Among those priorities, a call for complete political independence, free from endorsements of the two major presidential candidates. In place of supporting a national ticket, the convention voted to back the gubernatorial bid of Raza Unida here in Texas. And the unity theme so prevalent in this convention was repeated once again when the Texas delegation cast its votes on the national platform.
Mr. Chairman, the state of Raza Unida, in the spirit of unity amongst our brothers, our Chicano carnales, we cast 65 votes for the motion.
You say this is not an issue of turning your back on either Nixon or McGovern, I believe you say.
Right. It is not, either candidate is not the issue so much as the parties they're with and the history that they have for, not responding to Chicano issues and Chicano needs. And that is the issue at this point, and this is why we're not endorsing either candidate.
The decision not to endorse either Nixon or McGovern does not come as a surprise. From the beginning, it's been evident the attitude of this convention has been that the only way for the Mexican American to have true political power is through independence. Independence from Democrats or Republicans. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move in El Paso. It's not by accident that Raza Unida picked Texas as the site for its first national political convention. After all, the party was founded here just a couple of years ago. And with its large Mexican-American population, El Paso was the logical choice as the convention city. Now that Raza Unida is here, the party is trying to marshal its forces as the new political arm for the nation's Spanish-speaking people. Through this convention, party leaders hope to awaken the political conscience of Mexican Americans to such an extent that the Chicano movement possibly could be the balance of power in such states as California, New Mexico, or here in Texas. And so one of the major topics of discussion at this convention is how to use whatever political influence Raza Unida does have. But the very fact Raza Unida is holding its first national political convention is a victory in itself. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move in El Paso.
we had a tough decision to make in regards to our punter because Ron Whitby's been a fine punter for us, an excellent pro for a number of years, contributed to the Cowboys' success. He and Mara Bateman have competed during summer camp, and they pretty much competed fairly equal during the time, although Whitby had a little edge in field position, effective field position, which we measure. The reason that we went with Bateman was primarily because Bateman is a place kicker, and a pretty good one at that, in both field goals and kickoffs. And we felt like that was a plus for him, and if anything happened to our place kicker, we'd have someone immediately to take his place. Now, Ike Thomas, who's been with us 2 years, we had a lot of hopes for him. He went through last season, through the summer, but we just didn't feel like he was performing at the level he should have been performing at this stage. So it was our opinion that we should trade him at this time, and hopefully he can perform better with Green Bay.
Barring injuries, the TCU Frogs for 1972 could have a very tough football team. Their defense will be better, and Coach Billy Tohill talks about their offense.
Sure, I think our offensive football team, we have 8 starters returning in our offense. Our offensive line is going to be strong. They're big, and we have some ability in our offensive line. They're all seniors, from our weak tackle to our the other tackle, and possibly to the tight end position. I think that probably, speaking of the tight end, we probably have more depth at tight end than we have any other position on our football team. Our offensive backs, we don't have quite as much outside speed as we would like to have. We have better than average size. All of our kids weigh over 200 as far as our backfield running backs are concerned. And Mike Luttrell, one of our running backs, has great balance. He has a lot of power, and he's a sophomore. He's a big kid, 6'1½", 205, and I think he's going to be a real fine football player for us. Our fullback, Ronnie Webb, is a sophomore. He's never played a snap, but I think Ronnie's going to be adequate at fullback for us. Billy Sadler, our right halfback, you might say is a veteran in our backfield, and he has weight on his shoulders. He played for us last year as a starter. Billy has an awful lot of ability. He's a strong kid. He's got good hands, and anytime we go into the pro set, he'll be the right halfback for us that'll be in the pro set. But Kent Marshall, our quarterback, I think Kent is going to be a real fine quarterback for us. He throws well enough to beat you if you don't respect him, and he can run well enough to beat you too.
Now let's talk with quarterback Kent Marshall and some of the other purple and white Warriors.
Well, to win them all. I think everybody's looking forward to seasons where we all try our best, and right now I think we're just trying to get our execution down. I know that the offensive, speaking for myself, an offensive back, we're working to get our timing and execution down, because that's an important part in the wishbone.
Lyle, what kind of a defense are you going to have this year?
I think we're going to have a real fine defense this year. We've got 8 returning starters from last year, and looks like we're shaping up into a real fine defense.
I have a lot of assignments, there's lots of calls to make and a lot of things to learn. They say you're supposed to be big, dumb offensive linemen. Well, nowadays I don't think that's true. I played tight end last year, and there was a lot of calls, and a lot of responsibility, but not as much as inside. I guess we have at least 5 or 6 different calls.
I like to think I run the daylight. I don't really go up the line of scrimmage looking for a hole to be there. If it's not there, I'm not going to run into somebody head on unless I just can't stop.
Frogs have until September 23rd to get ready. That's their opener with Indiana. And as I said before, barring any injuries, they could be a tough football team this fall. For Channel 8 Sports, this is Jerry Haynes.
Well, we have a good number of rumors, yes, and some of our students have admitted this. They have told some of their teachers some of these things have not happened, and of course some of them are exaggerations. We don't deny that many incidents have happened.
Well, I have talked with Rumor Control, and they said that they've done some investigations, and they even gave me some examples of what has happened as far as rumors getting started and kids simply not telling the truth to their parents.
Well, we've had several incidents of this kind where students have admitted some things were not true.
Well, because if a teacher goes on maternity leave or has any type of extended illness, then the teacher is not guaranteed a position back in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel that they should be guaranteed a position back in the system.
The atmosphere they're trying for here at Richland is one of informality. That's evident not only in the facilities, but in the attitudes of the staff from the president on down. The top man is Dr. H. Dion Holt, formerly Director of Planning for the entire junior college system. He's been in on the planning of this campus since its beginning. It's his philosophy that students learn as much in informal bull sessions as in the more formal classroom. Dion, as he's known to staff and students alike, has helped create that informality. From the lakes that flow through, over, around, and under the entire campus to the color-coded carpet in the hallways for ease in finding a particular place. Its futuristic design and appearance is designed basically for togetherness and expansion. Well, the learning process for the 3,500 students began today as classes met for the first time. After wandering across the campus for the better part of the morning today, I can't help but feel like perhaps faculty and students alike are both relaxed and eager to learn. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News on the Move at Richland College.
Well, my partner and I had just came out of the woods. We've been tracking all night, and we were standing there on the highway trying to get the mud and get dried out a little bit. And a motorist stopped by and asked us if we were looking for the man that had driven the car. It was off in the ditch. And we acknowledged, and he said, well, he's hiding down there behind a bush behind the bridge. So we went that way, and we saw him coming up behind the bushes up toward the road, probably to try to catch a ride. And we stopped him and asked him what he was doing, and he told us he just walking around. He was lost, and he was from Oklahoma, and he had a roundabout story. He didn't have any good answers. He was all scratched up, cut up, wet, muddy, tired, and scared.
Did he offer you any resistance at all?
No, not at all.
The idea behind these night sessions is to fill up these seats, to give people who don't have a chance to attend the regular Monday afternoon sessions of the council an opportunity to see how the council functions. And tonight, there should be a lot to see because the council has a full agenda. For one thing, the new city budget is up for approval. It's the largest budget in the city's history, more than $208 million, but since it does not call for an increase in taxes, observers feel the budget should be approved without undue controversy. But there is controversy, and a lot of it, over the 4 redistricting plans before the council. The council is required by law to reapportion itself once every 2 years in an attempt to equalize the population in the districts which the council members represent. City Attorney Alex Bickley has presented 2 plans. Another has been offered by Councilman George Allen, and a 4th has been drawn up by Councilman Fred Zeder. and how the council decides this issue especially should give spectators tonight a real insight into how the council functions. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
That were begun to promote peace and good fellowship through the act of competitive sports has ended in bloodshed. The doves that flew away at the opening ceremonies will no longer return announcing the promise of peace to the world. I think we can't give any aid, and we dare not give any comfort to these outlaws. The competition should only begin when these hostages are released. I think that only for the goodwill of all people and the goodwill of Germany, Munich should not go down in history once again as the place of abomination, as the place where Jewish people were put to death through the acts of some and the silence of others.
I'm not objective. I believe that people deserve a public government. I believe that it's rotten for a banker to engage in inside dealings and jeopardize the money that you and I put in his bank. I think being victimized by a select few is terrible. So I felt this way before I even knew anything about Texas politics. I carry these attitudes down here with me, and I make that clear. So in those respects, I'm not objective at all.
Yes, we've all heard the screams of the innocent victims earlier this year in Tel Aviv. And now, once again, these very same jackals of the desert have initiated a crisis in the world, a crisis that I think everyone should be aware of the universal implications. The world today stands aghast and morally outraged, and really it's hard to believe that once again we're being blackmailed by these outlaws.
It certainly wasn't fair and equitable to all of the citizens of Dallas. It gerrymandered many districts. It ran through certain census tracts. It cut through certain precinct lines. This cannot be fair. It cannot be equitable. And it certainly doesn't give the people of the respective districts the right to choose the person who would run as a candidate from that district.
The police administrators today are looking for a person with a little more sophistication, someone who is more able to reason rather than use brute force. And of course, with the education program, the person is well-rounded in the liberal arts as well as criminal justice program as well.
But we want a man who believes in peace and also believes in the United States of America. And I think Mr. Nixon has done that, and I've been impressed by his position on that. And I stand with him in the things that he has done and has accomplished.
That we have failed in helping to bring the third world and the countries of that world to a place of self-development, that the disparity between the haves and the have-nots grows. I think he pointed out that there are 100 million more illiterates today in that world than there were 20 years ago, that children 5 years of age and under comprise 20% of the population of that world, but 60% of the deaths. Now, as long as this kind of thing continues, as long as there are some 700 million illiterates, as long as there are 390 million persons who are on the verge of starvation in our world, as long as there are almost 1.5 billion who are suffering from undernourishment, we cannot hope to have peace or justice on a worldwide basis.
Things have to be more open. I was pleased to see during the special session that the Appropriations Committee held open hearings, which was much different from the way I described Appropriations Committee hearings before. I think Texas needs effective disclosure, financial disclosure laws. I think that's very important. In a word, I think government has to go public in Texas. And you need two things. You need the procedures and the laws and enforcement on the one hand, also individual attitudes by public servants.